Good evening. Welcome to Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector podcast. I am your host, Tabatha L. Tonight, I will outline critical National Electrical Code requirements for new or remodeled commercial kitchens. In this episode, I will explore and go over why newly installed or remodeled kitchens fail electrical inspections. I will give you the code articles and corrective actions required to pass electrical inspections. Also, at the end of this episode, I will answer questions from the electrical industry, homeowners, and business owners. First item on my list: commercial kitchen wiring methods. Non-metallic sheath cable, also referred to as romex, not permitted to be installed above a suspended ceiling. Examples of this type of use for a commercial kitchen includes nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, group homes, just to name a few. Any facility that has dual use, part residential and part commercial. The common areas, such as the kitchen, romex, non-metallic cable, not permitted above a suspended ceiling. Article 334.12.2. Other structures permitted to be 4 and 5 construction. Cables shall be concealed within the floors, walls, or ceilings that provide a thermal barrier of material that has at least a 15-minute finish rating as identified and listing of fire-rated assemblies. Most commercial kitchens are suspended or drop ceilings. Exposed within the drop ceiling cavity in other than one or two family dwelling units. Article 440.14, National Electrical Code 2014 and 2023. Disconnecting means shall be located within sight and readily accessible from air conditioning or refrigerating equipment. The disconnecting means shall be permitted to be installed on or within the air conditioning or refrigerating equipment. Disconnecting means shall meet the working requirements of Article 110.12a. The disconnecting means for walk-in coolers. A walk-in commercial kitchen. Most commercial kitchens, all commercial kitchens that I have inspected, have walk-in coolers. The walk-in coolers, the motor requires a disconnect. I have that a lot. Connecting means it can be a switch or an attachment plug. In this case, I primarily see a switch. Part 2 of this equation, the weather-rated box. It should be a weather-rated box, are required inside the walk-in coolers. The weather-proof box, and it requires a cover. What I normally see when I fail these type of inspections are 4O boxes. Also known, they are called 1900 boxes. A 1900 box is not designed to resist moisture and lack the necessity of a weatherproof enclosure. Always use a box specifically rated for a damp or wet location and exposed to moisture for your walk-in coolers. commercial kitchens. All electrical equipment that has a motor requires a disconnect. If the electrical panel is located within 50 feet, if it's located within sight, within 50 feet, a circuit breaker will be accepted as a means of disconnect. Dedicated kitchen equipment. Please verify the name plate amperage on all fixed electrical equipment and appliances. These appliances typically draw significant power and require a separate circuit to function properly and safely. I mentioned remodeled commercial kitchens. A remodeled kitchen, I've had this incident. If your company is relocating to a new facility, but they would like to bring over the existing equipment, that equipment must be listed. If you wish to reuse it, the kitchen equipment must be electrically safe in good working condition. Also, this kitchen equipment, as I mentioned, it must be listed. Electrical Code Ordinance 1102-80/4. Maintenance. Maintenance of electrical systems. All electrical systems, both existing and new, shall be maintained in a safe condition. All service equipment, devices, and safeguards which are required by this code or which were in the building or structure by previous statutes or ordinance shall be maintained in good working order when installed, altered, or repaired. That article is where I draw from the existing equipment being relocated. Because if you relocate it, it's not grandfathered in at the new location. That's the new location, and it still has to maintain and be in good working order. Article 110.26a, spaces about the electrical equipment, the working area. You must maintain a 3 feet working clearance of the service panel, or in this case, most commercial kitchens, that's the sub panel. Nevertheless, that panel requires examination. No supplies shall be placed in front of electrical. Electrical box should be equipped with a panel cover and should remain closed to prevent accidental contact with the breakers. National Electrical Code 2023, Article 210B2, other than dwelling units. GFCI protection is required for all 125 through 250 volt receptacles supplied by single-phase branch circuits 50 amps or less, three-phase branch circuits 100 amps or less, installed in commercial kitchens. There's other places than dwelling units. Tonight, I'm specifying commercial kitchens. The 2023 code, they added 2 more for commercial kitchens. 3, food or beverages, preparations or cooking areas. That's another section in the National Electrical Code. Now, if you have a food or beverage preparation or cooking station, if you have a receptacle located on or about that area, you must have GFCI protection. Buffet serving areas, if they have a permanent provision for food, serving, beverages, or cooking, you must have GFCI protection. A reminder, please check with your authority having jurisdiction which code cycle you are under. In my inspection area, the AHJ, we're under the 2014 code cycle. All 120 branch circuit receptacles located in a commercial kitchen must be GFCI protected. The 50 volts, single phase 50 volts, that doesn't apply to us yet. I just want to put that information out there just to keep you informed, but please check with your local municipality. With the GFCI receptacles, the receptacles must be readily accessible, ensuring that they can be reached quickly for operational testing or to reset. It is against the National Electrical Code if a GFCI receptacle is blocked by kitchen equipment. Instead of using a GFCI receptacle, in lieu of that, you can use a regular receptacle and use a GFCI breaker in the panel. No equipment can block a GFCI. Any heavy equipment, stove, fryers, the refrigerator, ice maker, nothing can block the GFCI receptacle. A side note, a GFCI receptacle, they are designed to protect from electrocution, not fires. Wanted to put that out there. Question from electrician. Can we use a blank face GFCI in place of a GFCI, a blank face? No. Same thing. You still must maintain operation for operational testing or to reset. That's the same difference. If you need to move a piece of heavy equipment away from the GFCI, that's the whole premise of the circuit breaker. Blank face GFCIs are not allowed in a commercial kitchen behind heavy equipment. Commercial kitchens sharing a demising wall. This has happened in a mall setting, a shopping mall. Article 300.21. Fire protection. For my jurisdiction, the municipality that I do inspections in explains that a demising wall with 24 inches, 2 feet stud walls, if they share, and you have 2 electrical power boxes behind that are directly located in that shared wall space, fire protection is required. You can obtain that by either getting fire-rated boxes or you are allowed to use fire protection such as what we refer to as putty pads. Electrical installation in hollow spaces, vertical shafts, and ventilation of air handling ducts shall be made so that the possible spread of fire or produce of combustion will not be substantially increased. As the electrical inspector, when commercial kitchen equipment arrives on site, I make sure that the equipment is listed and labeled. As I mentioned several times in previous episodes, a listing and label tag must be clearly visible at the time of inspection. Label needs to be legible and readily accessible to the inspector to verify the equipment compliance. Article 110.21a. electrical equipment markings. Label shall include pertinent information like the manufacturer, the voltage, the amperage, and any safety warnings. If the manufacturer needs to apply labels, a field evaluation will be required. This testing ensures that the electrical equipment meets safety standards, minimizing the risk of electrical shock or other hazards. I brought that into this episode. Recently, I had 2 jobs, and I noticed equipment that was not listed or labeled. I have compiled a list of the discrepancies that were found. And I'll go over those with you. Start off by telling you it was a stainless steel food preparation table. The issue with the table, the discrepancies were arc flash hazard warnings missing, and they were not present on the panel board under each food preparation table. The discrepancy, there were 2 receptacles located on the sides of the table that were non-GFCI receptacle types. Discrepancy, the wire utilized 10-aught non-metallic sheath romex fed through a flexible conduit from the panel to the receptacle. This is a commercial kitchen with electrical equipment, so the required action taken was to remove that cable and replace it with a recognized wiring method out of Chapter 3 in the National Electrical Code. The discrepancy, unable to verify listed components of a heating element. Also, the discrepancy, the temperature control components were not listed. The corrective action for each one of the non-listed components, they requested that they replace those components with listed components. Discrepancy, unable to verify UL listings of recognized thermostats and thermometers. Temperature display for the food warmer compartments. As I mentioned, they must have a listed component. Discrepancy, incomplete nameplate were observed. The correction was to verify that. The electrical drawings they were not provided. Discrepancy, the corrective action to get those to the field evaluator. The second issue, so the thermal protective devices were not, for the blowers, were not listed. This piece of kitchen equipment was not listed, and corrective actions were needed. On the food preparation table, the receptacles were not ground fault protected, and that's required even on the kitchen equipment itself, like the serving tables, the warming stations, any receptacle located in a commercial kitchen, 120 volts, 125 volts with the 2023 code, must be GFCI protected. And there were multiple that were not. Also, they located a 10-gauge conductor. It was undersized. It should have been an 8-gauge, the minimum required. They had to replace that. In the panel, there were conduit knockouts in the panel that were not properly closed. The correction would be KOs, knockout enclosure to replace in the panel. Okay, so those are a few things that when you do have kitchen equipment that comes on site, you need to really look into it and see if it's listed because there could be several issues that you're unaware of because the equipment arrived on site pre-assembled. It should be listed. That verifies that is safety. That's a safety feature if it's listed. Make sure that your equipment is listed. Now, I would like to go to some questions that I received. I work in an office building. At work in several locations, they have numerous electrical equipment plugged into a multiple power strip for permanent use. I have heard that power strips are temporary use only. Is this a safety hazard? Yes. Overloading a single power strip creates a potential for a fire hazard. Plugging in too many devices, especially high wattage appliances or devices which can cause the power strip rating capacity and possibly cause overheating or a fire hazard. Most offices, I don't know for this location, you said several locations, but I know particularly in my office setting, space heaters under your personal desk are not allowed for that reason, because they will give you a few receptacles in your office space, and that is for the office equipment. Nothing personal, because the load has been calculated for that previously when it was designed. So you don't want to do that. That is a safety hazard. And one thing you could do if you're in an office is maybe go to maintenance, and you can tell them of that issue because safety is first. It is first. Question: heated floor. Is it mandatory for an electrician to install the heated floor member, also known as the floor mat membrane? The floor mat. Can a carpenter install the heated floor? He's asking, is it mandatory? It is mandatory for an electrician to install the heated floor membrane. The floor mat is required. The Electrical Ordinance 1102-80, Administrative General, it states that any electrical requirements essential for safety of electrical systems covered by this article shall be done by a licensed electrical contractor. That's in the ordinance. Also pertaining to this question, Article 424.34, National Electrical Code, electrical space heating cables. That article, an electrician would be more familiar with the National Electrical Code than a carpenter, because there are several requirements that are required when you're installing a heated floor. Always read the manufacturer's instructions. There are several manufacturers that manufacture heated floors, and the requirements are different. I know of at least 4 brands that I have inspected, and they are different. In any case, consult your local authority having jurisdiction for electrical code interpretations. Tune in next Wednesday. I will give you a list of electrical issues in regards with built-in lighting mirrors for vanities. My goal is to be proactive in preventing non-compliant code issues before the inspection happens. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me on any of my social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, under the moniker Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector. If you would like to add any feedback to this discussion, please email me at asktheladyelectricalinspector@gmail.com with any questions or concerns. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.